tummies up. But these impala are not there yet. Alright condition, actually. I mean, all things considered. Quite mature impala these, actually. For a bachelor herd of impala, the two impala that we've seen have been definitely veterans out here. And I know that. Have a look at their horn tips. The last inch or so of their horn tips. If they are pointing towards one another, that one is not. Can you see those horn tips are almost pointing away from one another? There we go, you can see that. That is now a male impala that's past prime. And generally these guys are the mentors for the young bucks, the young impala coming in. These impala quite often form the sparring partners for the youngsters, and it's where the youngsters learn the finer art of sparring or jousting with their horns. And it's one of the reasons why I do not like trophy hunting. This impala would be considered a trophy. But what happens when you take out a trophy male like this, even if he's past breeding, you take out that institutional knowledge, what to do when there's danger, what to do when does the rut start, how do you prepare, how do you fight. You take away that. And it's equally as important as a mature ram. Or at least in my opinion. So Mike, all the way from Germany, good afternoon Mike, you've asked, are there any springbuck in this area? Mike, unfortunately no, we don't have springbuck in this area. Springbuck tend to be high felt or plateau animals. I want to see if I can actually find you some distribution maps. Yes, I've got one right here. I think this is going to be the best way to explain it to you. They are on the inland plateau of South Africa, stretching all the way to the west coast. And I'm just going to have a look for springbuck. They should be fairly easy to find. So stick with me just for a little bit. I'm on S springbuck 419. There we go. This would be very easy to show you. All right. So springbuck, this is South Africa. South Africa is bordered by the Orange River, which is here. That's the Orange River. And you can see how springbuck are literally hemmed in by this plateau. This is the plateau, and then to the west coast, onto the coast, onto the sea. Where we are is here. And you can see that we're half a country away from where the springbuck start. Good, from here to there, 600 kilometers. From there to there, 600 kilometers. We're probably about 400 kilometers away from where we start to see springbuck, or where we could expect springbuck, and then all the way through to the west coast. In contrast, an impala, which is what we're having a look at right now, and that should also be just as quick to find. You can see impala occur where the springbuck do not, although much further up into East Africa as well. Here's where the rainforests stop and the grasslands start, the tropical grasslands. But you can see where we are, which is here. This is where we are here. You can see impala are everywhere where springbuck are not. There is an overlap, a slight overlap here along this margin, but generally springbuck and impala are not found together. So I hope that helped. It's quite nice seeing it on a map. I always find having a look at a map, or at least for me, you know, sometimes my brain works better in pictures like that, and it helps a little bit to see why we don't find one or the other here. Impala, although impala are called water dependent, they're not really. But springbuck really are. They do not have to have water at all. They are water independent. And they can literally get enough water from the ground and the grass that they feed on. The plants, excuse me, they are browsers. Whereas an impala is a mixed feeder, both browsing and grazing. Have a look at those impressive horns. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat. I think friend Brent has passed on his cold to me. They just love their colors. That's called counter shading, where you have dark on the top and light below, or vice versa. One of the more common animals that produce counter shading are sharks, who have lighter undersides and darker top sides, so that they blend into the dark sea below them if you're looking from the top to the bottom, and they blend in with a lighter sea above them. Although, who would ever distinguish a shark silhouette from, I don't know, a plastic bag floating around in the sea, I suppose, is the most common thing nowadays. Look at all those impala. Bachelor herd, all very mature rams. And why they are together at this time of the year, alone and apart from the females, I'm not too sure. Generally now, the females are all heavily pregnant. They will all have their babies in about November, December, with the first ones actually dropping in late October. And because their bodies are so low in estrogen at the moment, and the males are out of rut, their rut is in May, all these impalas should actually be with the herd, adding more eyes and ears. I think what would be nice is to see if the herd is not in front of this particular impala. But while I do that, Brent has a big furry surprise for you.
Now, we're not going to tell Steph how we got here. Let's just say it wasn't off the road through possibly one of the worst bits of off-roading I've done in about a year. We just won't tell Steph any of that. We'll just say there's a lion. He just happens to be next to us. And there he is. So this is the male who's been hanging on the peripheries, not too close to that female who's about to come into estrus. And I think he's playing the smart game. Oh, yawn. Half yawn. And the smart game is he's actually going to wait for that lioness to actually properly come into estrus, and he hasn't wasted energy and time chasing and fighting while she's not fully in estrus, and he might just swoop in and claim the rewards. I just saw the other male behind you, Brian, but I think I can see half a lion in the bush. Anyway, thank you very much, Karen, who has answered my In Kahuma question. Then Kahuma Pride were first seen in Djuma late 2006. So I wonder where they came from, Magnaletti or Kruger. Either is possible. Well, it's quite nice he's actually up and about a little bit. Normally, they'll be fast asleep. Charlie says, we're so lucky to have a bounty of lions to watch these days. Indeed we are. Charlie, I remember the days where we used to struggle for lions from time to time. But that's how it works out here. Everything goes in cycles. Giving himself a good lick. See, that other male had his head up for a second, but he's put it down. I'm pretty sure the rest of the pride. What? I think that's the other male. You see him, Brian? And I'm trying to see, I think I can see some bellies beyond. I think the rest of the pride might be in this little thicket here. There we go. Here's at least two. Is that lionesses, both of them? Yeah, and the male's actually a bit further to the left, I think. So, I wonder where the cubs are. The cubs are probably not too far away. All snoozing still. And he's still doing a bit of grooming. It's going to be interesting to see when that female comes into full estrus. Now Liz says, wow, it looks like he's just been beaten up. Oh, he looks pretty good to me. Normal male lion sort of scars. Nothing too serious. Not a proper male lion unless it looks like you've been in a fight. That's why with photographs you can always tell the difference between a captive bred lion and a lion from the wild. Wild lions are full of scars and nicks and tears, and they're quite often, very often, always having a little bit of a limp. Whereas those captive bred lions you often see in photographs are those picture perfect, not even a little scratch on the schnoz. Ooh, looks like he's going to growl at a fly for a second there. I do find it highly amusing when a great big male lion growls at a tiny stable fly. Oh. Now, this is the largest member of the order Carnivora in Africa who's going back to sleep. So let's go across to Steph, who's got the smallest member of the order Carnivora, looking for a meal.
I absolutely have the small terror, and I can guarantee you that my money would be behind the dwarf mongoose if it were the same size as an African male lion. These guys are precocious to the definition of the word precocious. But have a look at this little guy. Now, we see them quite often on Safari Live, and for some of them, they actually don't care about the cars. I mean, we're many thousands of times bigger and heavier than this little mongoose. To give you an example of how big he is, put your two fists in series with one another. In other words, baby finger to index finger, pointer finger, whatever you want to call it. And as long as your two fists are, that is how big he is. As wide as your balled fists and as long as your fists. Tiny, tiny little animal. About 100 grams worth. 100 to 250 grams worth, really. Not a particularly big one, but obviously not feeding. And that is because this mongoose's job right now is to act as a sentry for all the other ones around the area. So they're all feeding here somewhere. I actually got them in view here. They're on the other side of the car. They've just picked a high point next to that termite mound on the right-hand side. Look at the feeding frenzy going on the left. They are all feeding, showing a very different behavior to the one that we've just been looking at. And that's because this one we were looking at was the sentry. These ones are feeding while they know their back is covered. They're looking for insects, scorpions, beetles, spiders, termites, centipedes, baby mice, young small snakes, anything that they can find. Boom. And that's probably where they're going to be spending the night. They spend nights in termite mounds. Let's come back to this one. He's still sitting on his branch, doing his job very well. I must clap for this little guy. There we go. Oh, they're awesome. Now, I heard something interesting. Now, I've been seeing dwarf mongoose I don't know, every second or third day for many, many years. And one thing I do want to say is I never actually have seen one anal paste. Now, I know it sounds a bit macabre and disgusting, but they mark their territory by excreting a glandular secretion from their anal gland under their tail. And they do that by reversing, doing a handstand and reversing up a branch and touching that branch with this gland. It looks like this little one is going off to find another high point. We might have to just change the location of where we are at the moment. Oh, there he runs away. All right. He didn't want to play anymore. They're all gone. Let's see if we can show that one underneath there. He's digging underneath that double stump on the ground there. Let's see if some more want to come out and play with us. Right of the termite mount? Yeah, this time the right way. Yeah. I said right just now, Dave was confused. I'm digging through the leaf litter there. So the anal paste, by doing a handstand and then sticking their bottom onto a stick or a rock. But inside the termitarium that they live in, a male will anal paste against the dominant male will anal paste against the north wall. Can you believe this? And it's because the north wall of a termite mound gets hotter first with the sun that's always in the northern sky in the southern hemisphere, and wafts his smell all over the nest, and therefore imbuing his family's fur with his smell, and then he will individually go and anal paste all over his family so that everybody carries his smell. Now, if that isn't mongoose behavior 101, I mean, I just thought it was such a fascinating thing. Having seen this little mongoose anal paste, I'd never seen it before, and then reading up a little bit about this anal pasting behavior and how these males are just absolutely compelled to do this. So B. Wilson, you've asked me if these dwarf mongoose ever get into cars similar to how squirrels do in the US. Not that I've seen. To be quite honest with you, I have never seen a dwarf mongoose climb into a car or come even close to a vehicle. They get about as close as this little one was on the stick to us all the time, but none closer than that. That said, though, they do habituate quite well. You obviously know, or potentially know, that you can habituate suricates, meerkats, quite well. I've had a meerkat crawl up me and sit on my head, like use myself as a sentry post. And they've just started to do it with dwarf mongoose, close to where I live. There's a lady from the UK studying the behavior of mongoose, and she has, I don't know, 2 or 3 of these clans that she's got habituated to them. And you can literally sit in the bush and crawl around with them and have them basically come and interact, but not with you. And I just thought that it was such an interesting thing to do. So they can actually get very used to you, but not climbing in the cars, not yet at least anyway. Now, let's see what's just landed. It's a purple roller that's just landed in the tree here. But Dave, I don't think from this angle we're going to get him. I am going to try though. I want to show you a purple roller. You go forward just a little bit. It's going to be a very difficult find. So you see him in the top of the tree. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Gee whiz. That was right in the microphone. Go right. Right. Sorry. It's going to take a bit of time to find. We'll be with you in a second. Oh, he's just flown away. No problem. All right. Crisis over. We missed the purple roller, but it's okay. We're going to go back to the dwarf mongoose here now. Let's go backwards. Joanne, you've asked a very nice question there. Are the termites still home when the mongoose move in? Absolutely, Joanne. But what I think is that the termites are under attack from the second that the mongoose move into the termite home, and realizing that every time they come to their defense of their mound, they just get eaten. I think all they do, or have learned how to do, is just wall off that particular chamber, leaving it for the mongoose to inhabit. So I would imagine that all it takes is a couple of minutes and the termites would have vacated those chambers, left them to the mongoose until the mongoose leave, and then they would use that chamber again. But yeah, I've always wondered the same thing, to be quite honest. It doesn't make sense that the mongoose would let themselves be bitten by all of the termites all the time, and it also doesn't make sense to me why the termites would allow themselves to be eaten just the whole night. It just doesn't make too much sense. I can only imagine that it's because they create such a disturbance, the termites just leave, and then it leaves them alone for the evening. And of course, it's warm inside a termite mound. You're looking at 27 degrees centigrade winter and summer. They're protected from all the elements. Unfortunately, do share it with a lot of snakes. Puff adders, black mambas, cobras of all sorts, all like to go into termite mounds, pythons, and they all feed on these mongoose. So I can only imagine it must be terrifying. Warm but scary would be how I describe it. They're back on that stump there now, Dave. On that lying down stump in that gap there, sunning themselves. There we go. Coming into the screen from the left-hand side. So when it's very thick bush, just to give you guys a bit of a technical, when it's very thick bush, Dave's screen is filled up with this red mush of everything that's out of focus. The camera literally screams at him to tell him to focus. And it's a very difficult thing to see through all that mush to get the tiny little animal like this. The fact that you got it, before the sun went down, or tomorrow, or the next day even, is amazing. So thank you, David. So there they're socializing. So, Barbara, you said after hearing about the anal pasting habit of the dominant male mongoose, you're very glad that you are not a mongoose. I think everybody listening today shares that similar sentiment, and I know I do. I absolutely don't want to get anal pasted by my father at all, and I certainly don't want to anal paste my wife or my son. So a bizarre compulsion, completely alien to us, nonetheless real in the animal world and not too far away from where we are right now. These little guys have once again disappeared, have this habit of disappearing. I don't know where they're going to go. They will choose a different termite mound to sleep in every night, and they have these tiny little territories, I mean a couple of hectares, that's it. And they will have up to 30 burrows in this tiny little territory that they defend from other mongoose, and they will go to a different one every night, sometimes coming back to the same one after a couple of nights, but swinging through these ones. And they do that to avoid predation. So while it is a danger going into a termite mound that's already inhabited by a snake, for them I think the risk is worth it. They don't live there and have a snake come and catch them in their hole, in their burrow. And they'll also be eaten by things like jackal, they'll also be eaten by things like, a whole number of things. They're back again, Dave. They're messing you around. I think they're playing a hide and go seek game with us. Up a bit, yeah. Joanne, you've asked an unanswerable question. You asked, how long does it take to build one of these termite mounds and how many termites are in there? It is a question that has been raging around the natural world for an age. If you were watching a little bit earlier on in the show, you would have noticed a very large weeping boar bean tree that I was showing everybody on top of a termite mound. That tree, they grow incredibly slowly and was probably in the region of about 150 to 200 years old, growing on top of a termite mound. That termite mound, there's no doubt that the tree was growing on top. The mound didn't grow through the tree, for instance. As to how many termites in a termite mound like that, millions. Absolutely millions. I don't think anybody's ever counted a termite, the amount of termites in them, but definitely in the region of millions of termites per mound. And then a very interesting fact I heard the other day, whether true or not, I'm not too sure, but the total weight of termites in the Kruger National Park equals the biomass of mammals above it. So in any if you can imagine, all the elephants, all the rhino, all the buffalo, all the lion and leopard and impala and kudu equal the total mass of termites that live below the Kruger National Park. That is a staggering amount of termites. So yeah, I hope that answered your question, the unanswerable. And you have, I mean, that boerbean tree was 200 years old. Quite often you find tamboti trees on top of termite mounds that are 3 times the age of that particular boerbean. It's just so peaceful watching these little guys. They haven't really moved away from this mound. I think they're going to sleep here, and they foraged for the day. I have no doubt that they either did or didn't find enough food for today, and now they're just busy gleaning the last few insects that they can find around their den site for the night. But it all is just a bit of a social game, and then going to sleep again. Just before sunset, they'll disappear. They're actually quite late risers. By the time we get back from walk in the morning, 9 o'clock, 8:30 to 9:30, 9 o'clock, sometimes these little guys haven't even risen out of their beds just yet. And on really cold days, you see them suntanning. At 10 o'clock in the morning, you see them suntanning on their mounds, lying on their backs, enjoying the sun. So they're really, I don't know, if you were to come back as anything, coming back as a dwarf mongoose wouldn't necessarily be so bad, apart from the fact that snakes and every eagle want to eat you. Now, Roger, you've asked me if there's any local species of mongoose that attack mambas. I gathered from, you heard the story same as I did, that Riki Tiki Tavi, the story or the folklore story, the fable of a mongoose attacking a snake or a cobra. And yes, in India they do pit mongoose against cobras. We see pictures of it all the time in vicious fights that they bet money on. Here, mongoose and meerkat will both excuse me, just for breaking off there, I didn't mean to. There's just an alarm call going off on our behind us. Sounds like a bird though, so I'm going to carry on sitting here. They will mob snakes, absolutely. They join together and they shout at that snake. They can even nip at its flanks. As to killing it, I think that slender mongoose definitely, perhaps Mellors, marsh mongoose, the Selous mongoose, all these solitary mongoose who don't have one another to rely on for food and for protection and for help, they definitely would go for a snake. A white-tailed mongoose would be big enough to take on something like a big snouted cobra, perhaps. These little guys, no, they would run away from a big snake like that, especially a mamba. I have watched mambas hunt squirrels and dwarf mongoose, so they definitely would form part of a mamba's diet. Whether they'd be able to affect any meaningful defense, I'm not too sure. I think no. I think that they'd get eaten very quickly by a mamba. Now you can see, there's easily about 5 or 6 of them there. I can't really see exactly how many. That one individual that was acting as a sentry, he still hasn't come back from wherever he's disappeared to. He ran off into the bush on the other side of us. Now we've got a francolin that's making an alarm call near us, but I think it's a predator. A predatory bird, I should say. So Kathy, all the way from Florida, you wanted to know if mongoose are related to meerkats. They certainly are. They're in the same family. I don't quite know how it is, my taxonomy isn't that good, but they're definitely part of the Carnivora, and then they are in a subgroup from that. I'm not too sure exactly how to... Herpistidae is what they are part of. And Herpistidae, I'm busy having a look at over here, is part of the larger... let me see over here. Herpestidae, the family, and then Carnivora, and from Carnivora, Canidae. No, that is not them. So no, this book not giving me the taxonomy answer that I'm wanting. Not to worry, but yes, they are all part of the Herpestidae family, and from that you have suricates or meerkats and all your mongoose as well. They're all part of exactly the same thing. Slightly, the family or the order that I'm thinking of, I cannot remember it for the life of me as I'm sitting over here now. Also includes things like the honey badger, the civet, all the genets are also part of this particular family, and then they're all part of the broader carnivora family that lion and leopard and cheetah are all part of as well. So yes, they are with one another. All right, I think from now, let's carry on going. Let's see what else we can find. The day is starting to end. Thankfully, my face feels like it is on fire from the sun this afternoon. It's been a proper scorcher of a day, and it just seems that we've been traveling gradually north for most of the day. And obviously, with me turning over my left shoulder and looking at you, the western sun has just been beating into my face. But at least it'll make it shine nice in the dark.
So we're just going to go very slowly and just check a little bit further down Gallagher shortcut. So he was seen coming west through here, so keep your eyes peeled. What we want to do is we're looking for that little white tip of tail. It's one of the best ways to spot a leopard when it's on the move. The other way is to listen. Now, I wonder which leopard this could be. It could be Tingana. So on that direction that the lady is pointing me in, it should be popping out sort of this area. Although the lions are right here. Listening for bird alarm calls, squirrels. It's amazing what a difference a minute or two makes sometimes. Let's just go a little bit further down. We turn around and head back towards the pan. Maybe he's just stopped somewhere close by for a snooze. Now, this is where the lions are, just here. Now, X-Rang is saying that kangaroos often stamp their feet on the ground to let the other animals know that there is danger. Are there any African animals that do that? Well, not to my knowledge. They generally use alarm calls, barks, snorts, trumpets, those type of things. Now, I doubt that leopard would have come. Well, it's not impossible. I have seen leopards sneak up and have a look at sleeping lions before. but I think discretion would be the better part of valor here. So I've got to assume he's pushed further to the south. The lions are just here, probably 100 meters in there on the edge of the little river system there. Come on, leopard. It'd be nice to see a leopard. Those lions and some really thick bush there. Didn't see any tracks crossing. For me, this is the type of area where you pop out. Let's just have a quick look. Any tracks here? Nope. So maybe he's just gone flat close to where the water hole is. So he could have easily laid down in this section of thickets here to the right of me. We might have actually been ahead of him. Now the big problem is there's quite a few different routes he could take out of here. Where are you hiding, Mr. Leopard? What I think I'm going to go do is I want to see his tracks for myself. What do you think, Brian? Yeah, better than second-hand informations. He could also just have moved just out of sight of the pan and gone flop. Yeah, just having a quick listen. Thought I heard some go-away birds there. Okay. So I want to go back to where those exact last tracks were. Make sure he isn't just snoozing close by. Let's try to figure out which path he departed on. And then we can figure out which way to go. This is where he came in from. But while we try to figure out exactly what's going on here, let's go back to Steph at the Buffalo's Hook waterhole.
And And we are at the Buffelshoek waterhole, and the hippo that was in his perfect pond at Vuyatela yesterday and in this Buffelshoek cesspool the day before has now returned to his jacuzzi. And I can only imagine that there's something in this mud that he's really enjoying. There he is over there. He wasn't here this morning, so he was seen earlier this morning by someone on our camera at Vuyatela with an injury. So he's obviously walked from there in the middle of the day or during the game drive. And he's now come to plop himself back into this mud. And for a reason I cannot know, today was an absolute scorcher of a day. And although he is covered in some mud, that must be, in actual fact, it actually has got to be quite comforting. I remember fondly as a boy in about 1996, a friend of mine and I took a mud bath in a puddle that was there from some flooding that had occurred in the area, and we ended up lying in this mud puddle the whole afternoon. These two boys, stark naked, lying in this mud puddle, enjoying the rain coming down intermittently, and it was actually quite nice. The mud sort of buoys you up. I'm going down a path now I don't want to. It's like one of those things, the more I speak, the deeper the spade my tongue becomes. I'm going to go forward a little bit just so we can get the picture of this hippo a little bit better, and then also note on how many doves are around this particular pan again. Similar to yesterday at Vuyatela, we had this influx of birds and doves. And there you can see all of these Cape turtle doves that are coming down. I mean, it's not to drink. There's no water there. And yesterday, similarly, at Vuyatela, they weren't drinking, they were just standing on the sand next to the pan. There's a bird there, there's a patch of birds here in the bottom corner. Every now and again, one turns itself upside down in a hollow there, and I can't see if it's got water in it. Let's just look there for a bit, see if, there we go, that bird is upside down in that pan. I don't know if he's drinking or not. They can't drink upside down. Maybe there's some type of seed or mineral that's leaching out of the mud. I don't know. An interesting unknown phenomenon. Very peaceful here. Our beard, hi, you asked, do hippos ever get stuck in the mud? Please excuse me, folks, I got a frog stuck in my throat. It's okay. I'm sure it won't be terminal. You've asked me if hippos ever get stuck in the mud, and to be honest, I've never heard of hippos being stuck in the mud. They are negatively buoyant, so they don't sink, neither do they float. So they basically can walk underwater at about the same speed as they can on land. And with their short little legs, with their 4 toes that can splay open, and with their bellies that are so wide and can support their weight on the mud, I think it would be quite difficult to sink a hippo, actually. That and their ecological function in a food web is to keep waterways dredged and open, so they're almost perfectly suited, probably from an evolutionary point of view, to not get stuck in mud. So I think, albeit, I'd like to say that if it was an exam question, I would probably say that no, they cannot get stuck in mud. I mean, there's always the chance that they do, but I've never seen it, I've never heard of it, and just me thinking about it a little bit cancels it out of my options list. There's some that are drinking now, some doves that are drinking now from an elephant's footprint. The water seeped there, and they definitely are drinking. Very characteristic. Sucking water up, and then... Are they really? I never knew birds could actually drink upside down. Having owned a few pet birds in my time. I've always watched birds dredge water basically and then lift up their chins basically to swallow. These birds, they're all upside down, staring at maybe what they're doing is they're staring at their reflections in the water. Let's see what this one does. He's a new arrival. She's a new arrival. Down to the puddle. There we go. Definitely in the water. I see the wings, I see the mouth opening and closing. Another new arrival. I would have to say that these doves are probably drinking upside down. I never knew birds could do that. That is an interesting observation. You can see that bird won't lift up and drink. There you go, just looking around. Ah, Brent's found that leopard that he's been looking for. Awesome!
Oh, you can just make him out. We actually found him on foot. So we went to go look at the last tracks, and while we were walking, he popped out in front of us. Let me try to go back a little bit. So I think it's Tingana. This is the first time I've seen him properly. I didn't have the best look while we were on foot. I raced back to the car. But it does look like Mr. T. Hey, big boy. On the march, and he is a great marcher, Mr. Tingana. So I feel quite lucky to have found him. Often we find his tracks going through the whole of Djuma overnight. He's not desperately hungry, but he could definitely eat. Are we behind us? We good? We good? Looks like he might head back towards the pan. It could be because there were some elephants around there. Might have chased them off while he was still having his drink. And he definitely doesn't want to go back behind him because that's where the whole Inkahuma pride are. And we're just going to get up here, see where he goes. Let's just park over here. Let's just see where he goes from here. And then we can decide what our plan is going to be. So he's going to pop out in that little gap there shortly. Oh, has he gone flat? Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like he might have stopped, so. Can see where he's laid down. So if we look in front of Aubrey's car, he's decided to go flat there. So we're going to move around to where we can get a view of him. Oh no, he's up and moving again. He's going to come up behind us. Ah, there we go. See, if we just stayed in the same spot we wanted to. There you go, you got a gap, Brian? There he is. Now, as you can see, Mr. T is still limping. He's been limping for quite a while, and Arjun was wondering that's it. So he has been limping. It's got much better. It's not unusual for these animals to have a limp. They do lead a very, very physical life. But by no means does it look like it's hampering him at all. He's still looking in splendid condition. Well, thanks, Raisa. Raisa says, always so great to see a leopard. Well done for finding him. Well, we've got to thank the ladies at Gallagher. Without them, we wouldn't have even known he was here. We would have been sitting next to a fat, sleepy lion. Worst ways to spend the day, though. Now, I wonder where he's going to go from here. Looks like he might head straight back to the pan. Or he might keep in this little gully that goes down towards in front of Vuurtele camp. I think he's going to go into these thickets where we had Karula not so long ago. Oh, and he's going to lie down again. Terry's wondering, why does it seem that leopard eye color varies more than lion eye color? Well, they're different species, and I could not give you one straight answer. Even though there is variance in the eye color of lion and leopard, it's not that. Within leopards, I mean, it's not that noticeable. I mean, it's green, but it's still gold green, or it's brown, but it's still gold brown. So that golden eye color is the predominant color that sticks. That comes to mind when one thinks of leopards. or lioness. They are slightly faster. They probably don't have quite the same stamina as a lion, so they'll generally run very fast and then try escape up a tree. Chi-Town Connie would like to know, what does the name Tingana mean? Well, when he was first seen, he was quite unrelaxed around the vehicles, so Tingana means the shy one. There we go, he's on the move again. Oh, he's going into some difficult country now. So I'm just going to let Aubrey go past us and then I will follow on. But he's going to be heading down towards the head of the Moati River, which flows past the front of Vuyatela camp. While we try see if we can get another look at Mr. T, let's go to Steph, who's got a glorious African sunset.
You know, I have to applaud my teammate Brent Leo Smith on his tenacity and perseverance and skill at finding these animals. It really is amazing. And yes, we've got a bit of a sunset going on. We had the sunrise this morning. You shared it with us, and or some of you shared it with us. Others get to share the sunset with us, and it'll be gone in literally the next couple of seconds. As fast as what the sun rises here, the sun sets. And we've got this quite stiff breeze blowing at the moment. That sun is still a little bit too intense for me to look at it directly. It's still leaving, I have probably about 77,000 suns every time I blink now in my vision. So I'm still watching it the same as you through the television screen for now. Isn't that beautiful with those trees in the foreground? You just see the breeze blowing the leaves that we have. Heralds something, somewhere at the top of front, although there's not a cloud in the sky. Not even one single one. You'll watch that sun set now. You'll be able to mark its passage on that tree that it's just behind, or behind. You'll see that it'll disappear. On one edge now will disappear. There we go. Ooh. Inevitable is the word I like to use. There's just nothing you can do to stop that. It's been going since the very, very beginning, will be until the very end. Some say that we've got another 4.5 billion years of energy left in that sun before it swells up and engulfs us and whoever is left on the planet at that stage. Can you just imagine what it's going to be like? For the first 4.5 billion, everything you're seeing around you, everything that you've experienced with us, everything that we see every day, will just carry on and carry on going for another 4.5 billion years. My mind just wants to explode thinking about that. Almost gone. I don't even know what the time is now, but it's probably approaching around about 5:30 or so. Just after 5:30. 25 to 6 actually. And tomorrow morning you'll be able to watch the sun rise with us at probably 25 past 6 or somewhere around there. Probably not as late as 25 past 6. But anyway, the sun is about to go down. Enough of my musing over that. Say farewell to the sun. Last couple of seconds and there it goes. Gone. Just leaving us with this very rosy glow. So Deb, all the way in Ohio, has asked me two different questions. Do we find mupani trees in this area, and is anthrax a recurrence in the drought? So on your first question, Deb, not exactly where we are right now do we find any mupanis, but they're not too far away. The mupani belt that we have around us literally starts in the Timbavati, which is on the other side of the Manyeleti, which is maybe 20 kilometers. Less than 20 miles away from where we are, we start seeing the first mupani. And to your other question, anthrax, this is the time when anthrax comes about. Anthrax is an ancient bacterial spore and basically is transferred through vultures and hyenas and a couple of vectors. It's a heavy spore. And what it does is it gets washed to the bottom of these pans, similar to Buffelshoek Dam, like this. And in low areas, so in areas like this and like that, where animals come and drink, that is where you find anthrax spores are concentrated. And with there only being this water that you see here and little patches of water like we saw where those birds were drinking, that is where the anthrax spores will be at their most concentrated. The ruminants will come and drink water. They will pick up the spore. They die from anthrax, their bodies get opened by vultures and hyenas, and then the cycle goes around. They pick up those spores, they then come and wash off and drink inside dams and bits and pieces of water, wherever it is, that anthrax spore washes off of them back into the water and the cycle starts again. So, does that answer your question, I suppose, as to will we see anthrax this year? I don't know. Some years are worse than others. Dry years tend to be much worse than wet years. However, you just don't know. I would expect that anthrax will come about. We'll start seeing it from now, from these dried up pans, all the way through to the first rains, as soon as the water rises again past where these spores are harbored. But yeah, it's a naturally occurring thing. It's not something that's been chemically or genetically engineered to kill us. And while we can get it, I wouldn't want to go rummage around in any dead impala or kudu or giraffe that I see, or even buffalo. And I definitely wouldn't want to give a vulture a hug anytime between now and about January, or ever in actual fact, but most specifically between now and about January. There's really no there's no danger for us out here. It's just, we just don't touch carcasses, that's all. So you become a little bit more wary about what you do and how you pick up things. Like, from now we won't be picking up any bones, digging around in any carcasses, and we'll wait for the first rains to wash off those spores. I've just noticed something that I haven't seen at all, but the sunset was shared with us by two vervet monkeys sitting at the top of a tree in the background there. So if you zoom in just left a bit, into that tree in the middle there. Yes, the monkeys are, now I've got to try and find them for you. Which tree are we in? There we go, so that one there, Dave. There you go. There's two vervet monkeys that are sitting in the tree that has just enjoyed the sunset similar to us. Yeah. You probably find that that's the dominant pair of vervets in that particular family, and it's just mom and dad sharing a gin and tonic, watching the sun go down, exactly what you should be doing in Africa. Very, very cool. Andrew's asked me a question, which is my favorite, sunset or sunrise? Andrew, I actually enjoy both sunset and sunrises. They have such different feelings. This morning I had this feeling of anticipation. I didn't know what to expect. There were tracks around. I could hear the bush around me. It was a build-up of excitement. It was this build-up of just a lot of positive building things. By the end of the day, watching a sunset like this, and after we've had a busy day like we've had, and we're successful, we've found some lion, we've found some leopard, we've had an awesome afternoon, nothing's broken, I always feel this calming sense. So I like both. They're both, for me, completely different from one another. One is a build-up of excitement and a build-up of tension, but in a good way. The other one is this release of stress and this sort of just relaxing feeling. So they're both very different from one another. I like both, even though they're both similar and generate different feelings in me. I hope that answered your question there, Andrew. Do you have a favorite, a sunrise or sunset? Let me know. I'll share it with everybody if you want. Otherwise, feel free to just comment on how you feel around sunsets and sunrises. Now, this hippo hasn't even flicked an ear. Let's go forward a little bit more. So our beard has just commented that sunrise is his favorite. Now, I feel with you. I think a lot of people enjoy sunrise. It's just such a pity around the world not too many people get to, or not too many urbanized people. Let me change that. Not too many urbanized people get to enjoy sunrise. It's just such a rush. I just want to show everybody those two Vervet monkeys now. We haven't got the camera that has that punch-in zoom. We just got one of our older, better cameras, the vintage camera. RBS just re-commented and said that it's mostly because he's lazy that he sees far more of the sunrises than he does the sunsets. You can see those monkeys are huddled over, just keeping warm at the moment. Sun is down, their evening vigil starts. I see that the one on the right hand side has a youngster, and the youngster is being groomed. So the one on the right hand side, which looks a little bit swollen, that is a baby that's tucked in. One on the left, I'm not quite sure why it is such an amorphous mass, but I can't see, my binoculars are not big enough. I think it's just the way it's facing us. Although there could be 4 monkeys there, each one holding on to a parent. Doesn't that just look so awesome? 2 monkeys sitting on a branch watching the sun go down. There, definitely. You can see now the 2 heads, all 4 heads separated there. Watching us, watching them. So they're just holding on to one another for what seems to be a blustery evening in store. That's just really cool. Alrighty. Let's get going. I was around about this time of the evening. It actually was a little bit later than this that the first of the sandgrouse rocketed into WildEarthTV. I doubt there's going to be any sandgrouse coming here. I mean, you never really know, to be honest. I mean, those doves came in at almost exactly the same time that the doves came in yesterday to WildEarthTV to come and drink upside down or whatever they were doing in the mud over here. Mr. Hippo, I hope you have a good evening. I was wanting to see today if your injury, I could see what injured you. He's potentially here because of the lions last night. They may have harassed him a little bit, and that forced him then to run here. I just see his pink eyelid there on the left hand side. You'll notice every now and again his eye blink, and only his eyelid literally doesn't have mud on it. There you can see the eyelid, the pink eyelid. Shame. I mustn't laugh at this poor guy. Oh, I cannot imagine how difficult life needs to be or is for these guys right now. Unappealing. Good luck, Mr. Hippo. Enjoy your evening. Alright, and on that note, and because we are going to get going now into this wind, it would be a good thing to send you over to Brent, who's got an update for you.
So unfortunately, Tingana went almost on the exact same route that Karula did a few days ago into an impenetrable river system. So we're trying to sneak our way back to where did we go through last? I must have been through there. To where that male lion was, but he looks like he's moved. think I see a gap through there. Now, I wonder if the rest of the pride have moved as well. If so, I think it's going to be quite difficult to find them again, especially in this area. Oh no, there he is. You see it, Brian? There he is, hiding behind a tree. Okay, let's pop through there. Oh, none of the pride have moved as well. They're all lying through there. That's them there. Oh, head up. Hello, fatty. Yes, we're back. I wish there was a way to get into where the cubs are. Unfortunately, there isn't. So we've been having some incredible sightings of the Nkuhumas, Birminghams and the cubs. Andy in Kentucky is saying he's really been enjoying all the cub sightings we've been having, but are all of them expected to make it? If that was the case, Andy, it'd be very, very uncommon. Normally in this part of the world, lion cubs have about a 70% mortality rate, so only 30% are expected to make it. But we are in a drought, so there's a good chance that rate will go up. There's plentiful food. Another thing that's sitting well is the Birmingham boys are about 6 years old, so in their prime. It's unlikely that another coalition of males is going to be able to challenge them for their territory. Now, the biggest killer of lion cubs is male lions during pride takeovers and changeovers. So during the coalition changeovers, that's when most cubs get killed. And they'll kill any cub under 3 years. I'm just going to try to move a little bit forward. That one lioness has got her head up. We've got a gap through there, Brian. There we go. Now that's the youngest Nkuhuma lioness who has got the attentions of the Birmingham boys at the moment. And the rest of the pride and cubs are just off to her left. We can't really see though, unfortunately. They're about... Where's my finger? Oh, I've lost my hand. More left, more left. Ah, there. They're in there. All spread out through there. Right on the edge of this little gully system. Now, like all the big cats, lions have a very short gestation period. Emma was asking that. It's between 90 to 110 days. And if they lose cubs, they come into estrus very, very quickly after that as well. Sometimes within a week of losing cubs, they'll be mating again. He's phlegm grimacing from the ground. Lazy, lazy lion. Oh, at least he's raised his head a little bit. That's the other Birmingham boy who's here at the moment. Now, yawning, grooming is generally a precursor to movement, and we are getting to that time of the day. Oh, get lost, you. She's been trying to avoid his attentions for the last 3 days, but with not much success. Now, they are quite hungry, so hopefully they have a successful hunt this evening. Oh, big yawn. Now, Mia in Illinois is saying, do lionesses have a preference for scarred males versus non-scarred males? No, Mia, they have a preference for who's the most dominant. And in a male lion coalition, that changes constantly. There is some research to say they prefer darker maned males, but at the end of the day, a male lion who's the most aggressive and is able to push off the other suitors wins. Now, the theory behind the dark manes is that the darker the mane, the higher the testosterone level. Oh, big yawn. Oh, he rolled over. Yes, he did. That immediately grabbed the attention of the other two. Oh, there we go. You can hear a bit of growling. I think he might get snapped at. What he's doing is he's moving himself between the lioness and the other male. So silly. Can you hear the cubs, Brian?
No, just Hardy does.
Oh, you can just make out the cubs. There we go. In the background there. They're also starting to get moving. So I wonder if the Nkahumas are going to have success on this windy night. Windy nights are better for the big cats to hunt. Well, Jay Atkinson is wondering how lions manage to keep their teeth so clean. Well, if you actually were to have a closer inspection, they're not that clean at all, Jay. But it's just probably from use and a pure protein diet. So quite often teeth are stained. If you look at a buffalo or giraffe, Impala, it gets stained by the vegetable matter that they eat. So with a pure protein diet, they don't really get those stains on them. But if you look closely, they're not teeth. They're not very clean. They've got plaque. So we're going to sit here, see if there's anything happening with the Nkahumas and Birminghams. While we do that, let's go across to Steph so he can bid you a fond farewell.
Thank you very much, Brent. I'm very jealous you guys have seen and found most of the animals today. And but all applause to you for that one. And that is exactly that. It's come to the end of the safari. It's come to the end of the evening and the end of the day. And I just want to say on behalf of probably... Oh, hang on. So Scott in Durban has said I'm obviously going to be very sick tomorrow, and that he's offered to come and drive himself in my place while I die of consumption or TB or something else that I'm going to get over the evening. Scott, you're welcome to, if you can run here from Durban between now and tomorrow. I'll be expecting you for breakfast. But no, anyway, thank you very much. Thanks for the care, Scott. That's quite kind of you. I'm sure I'll be okay. I hope I'll be okay. But anyway, on that note, I'm going to say goodbye from myself and David. I have to say thank you very, very much for all your support again this afternoon. Thank you very much for all the questions and tolerating all my coughing and spluttering and croaking and all the little mistakes that we all do. Thank you very much for your support again for the Safari Love product and for Wild Earth. And we'll catch you tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock Central Africa time.
I'm going to spend our last moments of today's sunset safari with the lions, and hopefully they'll have a successful hunting evening, and we'll catch up with them on the sunrise safari as well. Now, I think Tingana did exactly what Karula did not that long ago, and actually jumped into the camp. From where we were, we couldn't really see, so maybe he's after camp bushbuck tonight. That'll make Brian happy, because they are the pilferers of his sunflowers. Oh, and he's going to follow her into the excuse me, darkness, and we are left with one very lazy lion. So let's reverse back. Valeria in Massachusetts says, since I got the fox quiz right at the beginning of the safari, I would like to get another look at the fox thumb. And I thought foxes are scared of lions, Brian.
A little bit.
So I think that fox thumb's hiding in its hole at the moment.
We'll be out there.
Maybe it'll pop its head up just now, just before the end of the show. Maybe not. It is close to a big cat, and foxes are scared of big cats. I still think this Birmingham is playing it smart, waiting for that female to actually get into estrus before putting all the effort in. So I think when she's actually ready to start mating, he's going to charge in, chase the other guy away who's doing all the protective work, and then claim the mating spoils. But we're about to end today's sunset safari. It's been wonderful having you with us, and we will be doing this all again in a few short hours on the sunrise safari. Hopefully lots of lions and leopards about. Maybe Tingana will still be on Djuma. Oh, wait, what's that? It is a fox in Africa, in southern Africa. Isn't that incredible? If I remember correctly, Vulpus, the red fox. But from the red fox, Brian and myself, toodaloo till tomorrow.